What's up, writers? Hey, if you're here and you haven't finished your trail of research, get out of here. No, seriously, you need to go do that. Today's lesson is pointless if you haven't done the previous work. You have to. You have to do it. So, go and do your trail of research, and we'll see you back here when you're done. In the meantime, let's continue thinking about structure. Last time we talked about structure, we were just diving into our flash drafts. We said structure sets us free. It set us free so that, just like in basketball or football or any other sport, if there's not a play, if there aren't rules, it's chaos. We don't know what to do. In the same way, when we have a story or anything else, if we have a clear structure in our mind, it becomes so easy. When we wrote our essay, we had a main idea and 3 key points, and those became our paragraphs, and we wrote about each one of those. And it was beautiful, and it was easy. We knew exactly what to do. And so today, we're going to make a structure for ourselves, and we call it a table of contents. Let's check it out. So right now we're looking at my trail of research, our trail of research, and we started with Malala. Well, teen activism, technically, that was our big idea, but then we kind of broke that down to a subtopic and said, Malala is pretty important here. But then what's important about Malala? We're saying she's important, but why? Well, she was affected by the cause she was fighting for. She found a problem right at her doorstep, and it was that girls were being denied an education around the world, specifically where she lived. Well, what's important about that then? Well, what's important is that there's actually a lot of people around the world who support girls having an education. Seems weird to us that girls wouldn't get an education, but it's globally an issue. So there we go. That was the interesting thing then. We could start to find other activists there. We could start to break it down into reasons why girls were being denied an education. So many ways we could have went. But that was our trail of research. And wouldn't you know it, we can just stick with that for a table of contents. So cool. Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, done. You know what? In some of you, that's what you're going to do. However, there are other ways we can consider a table of contents might go. We might divide or combine some of these chapters. We might say that, hey, you know what? I want to have multiple chapters about different activists, and I'm going to include Malala there. So we're going to move up chapter 3 and 4, bring Malala down, and we're going to have some more than one chapter about an individual activist. Cool. Love it. So now, before we get into the idea of editing table of contents, let's first make our own. The first step is recording our trail of research as a table of contents. Because a trail of research is, and I call it a research trail there, a table of contents, a trail of research is a structure, just like our table of contents. So, step 1. Chapter 1 is going to be teen activism. That's really just going to be the flash draft that we wrote. It'll be our introduction to what we're talking about. There's this big world of teen activism, but then chapter 2, here's what I'm really interested in within teen activism, where you're going to introduce the idea of bullying, or the environment, or child labor, or girls' education, or animal abandonment. So, I've done 50% of the work for you. You're welcome. But then the next 2 chapters are up to you. Chapter 3, we should be asking ourselves what's important about this subtopic. So if it was animal abandonment, we might have decided that the important thing is that there's different types of shelters that when animals are abandoned, they could go. And it matters which one they go to. And then within that, we might decide that it's super interesting to us to go further into the world of maybe why animals are abandoned in the first place and how we can prevent that. That would be up to you. And it would take you looking at the trail of research you have to decide how you could break these chapters, or how you could break your trail down into chapters. What's important and what's interesting to you next. Chapters 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom. So, pause your video, record that, get a table of contents you feel good about. When you're done doing that, come back to the video. We're back. Guess what? Let's try to organize it a different way. Oh boy. Okay, well, what do you mean a different way? Well, hey, we have these common structures that information texts seem to follow. Problem and solution. So that could be that one chapter, you introduce what the problem is within your topic. The next one, what solutions are to it. Chronology, fancy way of saying order, time, or time order. In other words, what happened first, next, last, in the future. Boxes and bullets to me, I like better as a graphic possibly, or an easy way to sort quick bits of information. I'm not a fan of considering how I could do a whole chapter as boxes and bullets, because I can only take reading so many bullets. It's not interesting. Now, I see that it says there you could write about one person or project after another, probably handling each similarly. I'm not really sure that I understand that. So, hey, this is your teacher saying, I don't understand, I can't figure it out, and that's okay. But definitely, if we were doing a list, I could see us listing within a chapter. I mean, I could see, I guess, if you're going to do a chapter as a boxes and bullets, that you have a list of different activists and that each part of that list goes into description, but I definitely wouldn't want to see bulleted like that. Classification. I think this is really good. If we're doing animal abandonment, we could list the different types of shelters that exist. We could list the different, and I'm saying list, but we could classify or talk about the different types. We could talk about the different reasons why animals get abandoned. If we were thinking about the environment, we could classify the different types. Did I say abandonment? If I said abandonment, I meant environment. We could think about the different types of environmental causes out there and classify them. Definition, if we really look at it, it's basically like opinion writing. We have maybe a chapter where we make a claim about something, like maybe that Malala is a hero, and we give evidence why, and we give non-examples maybe of why people might not feel that way, but we try to prove our point. And finally, trail of research. You already have that. You've already made a table of contents that way, so don't choose that one again. But what I want you to consider is, if you have a coalition group with you right now, how could we talk to each other and think, what ways could we change our table of contents based upon considering these structures? And try it out. After you've made a second one, come back to the video, but pause it for now. All right, so for today, here are options. If somehow you snuck into this part of the video and you've only got one table of contents, bad job. No. We want multiple table of contents options. So I'd consider revising the one that you might have at this point. Or if you've got a couple and you're still not happy, try doing more revising. Option 2, though, I hope that we can do. And that's, we have a table of contents we're ready with that maybe we're excited about, hopefully excited about, should be excited about. And even better, you have one chapter that you're like, I want to write this right now. Let's do this. So that's what we should do, hopefully, is start drafting a chapter. But then what goes in a chapter? Well, it shouldn't look too much different than what we've considered for writing essays. Write in paragraphs, please. Consider different things that could go in different paragraphs. Think about that structure. And tab it. Don't skip lines between paragraphs. Make it look good. Next, cite your examples. By that I mean give credit to the source you got it from. Like we see there in the example, according to Kristen Lewis. And even better is if you can quote from the text. That way we know you're not just making it up, right? Something that we really need to be good about, this might be the most important thing here, is having multiple examples for each point. Each key point, paragraph, multiple examples. One example, another example also. If you can only find one piece of one piece of evidence to support that point, I would worry whether it's actually true or not. You should worry whether things are true if you can only find one piece of evidence that keeps being brought up from the internets. The internets might be trying to trick you. Okay, and finally, once you include evidence, reflect on it. Tell us more. Tell us more as in, why does this evidence actually support what your key point is? And why does it matter? I call that analysis or explanation. These things, all four of them, let's focus on as we draft some of these chapters. Hopefully at least one that's going to be your most exciting one that you're excited about. If you get to this point, congrats, great job today getting through our work, and I hope that you have fun drafting this chapter. Until I see you next time, happy writing.